Hello and welcome back to the RattleMind podcast. I'm Rye, and joining me as always is my co-host.
Panchy, now that I don't sound like I'm talking on a string and tin can.
And then join us today is a special guest, Potato of Death.
Hello,
All right.
it is me, the potato.
I'm still salty, right, that you didn't tell me that how bad I sounded last week. It was bad. And I hope I'm still less bad at least sounding.
Yeah, it is much better. The problem
Oh
was that
Christ.
how long did it take you to correct all the issues you were having?
Well, when I realized that there was a program you can download for these Logitech headsets, it was a matter of finding a preset for all the weird settings that I'm not used to at all because I'm not a sound engineer. I don't know what I'm doing. So I just found a preset that sounded half decent, and here we are.
Yeah, it probably would have taken like hours if I tried to troubleshoot it. So,
Oh gosh, if you were trying to do everything, like all the little components individually, yeah, it would take forever, but
yeah. So, our topic today is going to be one we've already covered, but why not cover it again? Scars and stories. But this time, our guest is going to do a lot of the talking because he's going to share his scars and stories.
Hmm. All right. So, where do we
pick a
begin?
story.
Yeah, you just got to
Pick a
pick a
story.
scar and pick a story for
Let's
it.
see. All right. When I was about 10 years
Young.
old,
Okay.
my mother. Why'd you say no? You just like, no,
No,
don't
I
ever
said
speak.
young. I was trying to
Uh,
help. I
oh,
was
I
trying to
think.
help. You're struggling to pick an age, so I said
Uh,
young.
Listen, there are so many different ones, okay? When I
Okay,
was
all
about 10
right.
years old, my mother would religiously make sure that I was not running in the house, okay? And she didn't like that I ran in the house. I constantly did because I had ADHD. It was not a question of if or it was more just when I would run in the house. And that was because they didn't really let me outside. I was homeschooled. It was a big thing for me to be able to just be active at all. And my mother didn't seem to quite get that, and she just like, you need to stay still. That wasn't a thing that was going to happen.
Yeah, I bet not.
Right. So the theory that I have is that my mother did this on purpose, but the way she tells it, it just so happened to happen several times. You know, she was just like, well, you know, I didn't mean to do that, but I don't believe it. So I was running through the house as I always did, and she came home, and I didn't even hear the car door shut. I didn't even hear the keys go into the lock. All I saw was me running through the house, and then a door flew open and slammed me right in the fucking eye.
Ooh.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about this one.
So that the first time it happened, there's the first time it happened, my father goes, "Oh my God, what have you done?" And he picks me up and takes me to the hospital. Well, he doesn't take me to the hospital at first. Actually, he gets me into the bedroom. That's where we had our first aid kit. He cleans up the wound. He puts in stuff and he like closes it up and you know, um, he didn't like stitch it or anything, but he just was like, band-aid, put it together and make sure it sticks, let it dry and everything else. And to be honest, I felt still pretty bad, but I felt okay. I was all right for the most part. I was like, I was hurt, but I'm not dying. And then my mother did this thing where she basically was like, I don't know, we should go get him to the hospital and get him checked out. So they took me to the hospital. This was the worst.
For the same incident? Like,
Same
it
incident. This is
wasn't.
just the first
Okay.
one. This is just the first one. And we go to the hospital and they took off the bandage and it was sealed already. So they had to tear it back open,
What?
according to them, to make sure nothing was in it.
Wow.
So they tore my fucking like side of my eye open. Not my literal eye, but
What
like the
did your dad
skin.
seal it like closed with? Like just the band-aid or?
He literally just, you know, kept pressure on it with his hand. He cleaned it up with like alcohol, rubbing alcohol and Neosporin and stuff. And then
So it
he
had
just,
naturally like kind of scabbed over and sealed itself. Like,
it didn't scab over, but it was closed. He had held it with such pressure.
right.
It hurt like a son of, but
Yeah.
it hurt really bad when he did it, but he
But it was
held it
starting to close
closed.
on its own.
And
And for
they
some
got,
reason, the doctors
and they
felt
tore it
compelled.
right open.
Jesus.
Yep. So they tore it
What
right open.
happened that like your mom thought that was a good idea? Like, was there like blood leakage? Like, were you
I
acting a little
no.
woozy?
There wasn't any blood. He already cleaned up the blood and he had held it closed. Like he's a very strong man. And he has really big, thick fingers. All right. And
No, yeah, I
he
believe
took
he
his
did a good
hand
job. I just
and he just like squeezed it shut. Okay.
So
And
pretty
then
much
he
he
put a
did too
band-aid
good of
over
a
it.
job.
Pretty much. Pretty
right,
much.
but like
That's
exactly, why would your mom then double
she's
back
just
and
like,
be
well,
like,
well, she did that natural mom thing where they over worry, where they go, well, I don't know, I think we should
mm,
really still go, and obviously it's already not bleeding, it's obviously closed, he's got a band-aid over it, and she was like, I just don't know, we should go, and she waited like 2 or 3 hours before we went, but ultimately they tore it back open, and then they stitched it shut. Which was infinitely worse in my opinion, and I barely remember any of it now
Yeah.
because like there's a part of it that I do remember. I remember going in the hospital. I remember being there, and I also remember them tearing it open, but after that I don't remember anything else.
mm,
Like
mm.
yeah, so I remember what that felt like, which is kind of odd to me because a lot of people go, I don't remember that pain. I remember that pain. It's very very memorable. Um
That pain is much pain.
So here I am, you know, the first time I ran through the house, I was running. We
But
had,
wait, there's more.
yeah, so the first time I run through the house, um, it's a big long trailer. Okay, so I'm running from one end of the trailer to the other end of the trailer and then back again, right? Back and forth, just because I can
hmm
run and nobody's really home, nobody's really worried about it. And I'm just running back and forth. I'm not hurting anything or breaking anything, just running. Okay. And the first time I did it, if I remember correctly, I hit my left eye, which means I was running from my bedroom to my parents, and the door would be on my left. Okay. The second time I did it, I was running from my parents' room to my room, which means the door would be on my right. She opened up the door and hit me in the right eye.
Oof.
So, and this was within like 2 or 3 months of each other.
Is
Something
this the one that left the scar that's like on your eye to
they
this day?
mm-hmm. Yeah, I still have both the
Well,
scars.
eyebrow, technically, I guess, but
One's on the
yeah,
corner, the one on my corner of my eyes.
your
So
mom tried
yeah,
to kill you with doors as a child. Got it.
she didn't stop there, I promise you. So this time she'd learned her lesson about last time, evidently, about taking me to the hospital. And my father just did his thing and, clamped it shut and put a band-aid over it, and it sealed up and it was perfectly fine. And I was like, I'm glad that we're not going to the hospital.
Right.
And
God.
that one healed infinitely better than the other one. Um, the other one you can really still see, and this one, the one I think the right, it is not as deep as a scar. Now, the last thing that she did, all still involving me running through the house. So this is the third time this happens. It is a genuine fact. I run through the house. We all know you can hear me running. I'm not silent. I am a child.
Was it what time frame were all these
The,
in?
this was the first one, and then 3 months after that, and then like I'd say 2 months after that, all these happened in
So
succession.
3 incidents within half a year. That's
Yeah, and this is why I was like, "There's no way she isn't doing this on purpose."
well, she
So,
hopefully learned her lesson after the third one. Third time's the charm.
well, you see, she went ahead and she made food for my father as she always was, and they like it wasn't just like for him, it was for all of us, herself included. But she went to get his plate of food, and I was already running through the house. She knew I was running through the house. She was cooking, and if I had been able to stop in time, I would have. However, this woman knew I was running through the house and somehow drowned out all the noise that running made in coming in her direction, completely losing spatial awareness, and turns completely around in like less than half a second and slams a fucking plate into my eye again. A plate full of hot food into my
Wow.
face and my eye.
Oh.
Another
Oh
one.
my god.
Another one. I was suffering from success. She
No doubt.
she legitimately just did not like my face, I guess. And she, she just did that. And it hasn't ever happened since. But
That half-year
back
period.
for a while there, I was like, is she just gonna try to kill me? This is what's happening. She's just trying to kill me. I'm just too strong for her to kill just yet. She's
Did
weakening me.
did you get like injured from the plate or anything? Like I doubt you got cut again
I
unless the plate broke over your face, which I wouldn't
no,
be surprised at this point.
the plate didn't break over my face, thankfully. However, I did get another injury near to my eye. This time it wasn't deep enough to worry about that much, and so that was
But like
just
just a bruise or
no, it was still a cut open. It was still cut open.
oh.
You see, because the first
Wow.
two with the
How
doors,
fast did you run as a child at a plate being held by with food as a
I
cushion?
I run very fast. I go
Apparently.
fast. I go very fast.
You were a little Ricky Bobby.
I had a need for speed. That's all I can say. I didn't even know what that game was at the time, but I had a need. Um, for the rest of the scars on my face, let's see. Um, down the middle of my nose, I have this big, big, long scar in the middle of it, like right on the bridge of my nose, right? And how I got that one was, and I just want to say this: my father was abusive, and my mother was like the person that she was. But like, my father never really left scars on me. Funnily enough, he quite literally like punched me in the face several times, and stuff like that. But he never like cut me open maybe there might be slight bruising, but he knew how to handle his shit, I guess. my
I guess.
my mother, on the other hand, just took me out, I guess. You know? But I just think it's super funny that, like, of all the scars I can recall, of all the different things that have permanently marred my head, like almost all of them are not my father, and that's just so surprising to me. um,
That is
but
surprising. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
it really doesn't. He really, I mean, my father used to, like, if he got into the zone of being violent, his
Seeing red.
eyes, no, it wasn't seeing red, he would black out. His eyes would dilate and they would become entirely black and he would just hit you.
Wow.
I remember one time I told him not to, like, get started in a fight with my mom, and because I could see where it was going, and he stood up, his eyes just dilated, and he fucking started punching me in the head and punching me in the body. Now I will say, before we continue with this, I have a great relationship with my father now. He's a different person than he once was, but
Hmm.
that is
I
something
like
that
your dad.
I like my dad too, even though he's kind of an asshole. But that's a family trait. I am one too. Anyway. Oh, just Anyway, the middle bridge scar. I'm gonna do this for the people who are like, "How dare you not get back to the point?" Listen, I'm ADHD, leave me alone. I threw a dodgeball up in my bedroom because I liked playing with different toys, and for some reason I was so danger prone it wasn't even funny. And we had this, what I call, it's like a glass plate over top of the lights,
Yep, I know what you're
and
talking about.
Oh yeah, me
yeah,
too. Like
yeah,
a,
and it
is
and
it
it
kind
would,
of a bowl, kind of
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
a,
It's kind of like a bowl, and then it has a screw at the
yeah,
bottom that
like
attaches it
glass like
underneath. Yeah.
cover thing. I know what you're talking about.
So you see, you can imagine my surprise when I'm standing under it. I throw the dodgeball up, and I hit it, and the screw unloosens entirely and smacks me dead center in the middle of my nose, and it cut
Wow.
me open. I was bleeding real good, real good. Now,
Ow.
now the thing is, my father and my sister Brittany were in, like, the kitchen just having a conversation. I didn't even cry. I was like, "Ow, that hurt."
A little bit of shock. Yeah. One minute
Um,
my face wasn't covered in glass, and now my face is covered in glass. I'd be in shock too.
but you see, it wasn't covered in glass. The thing was a whole plate, and it did not shatter, and it came down in in the
Wow.
middle, which means the whole thing hit me right in that part.
Mm,
I was told by the doctors later that if it had meant to the left or right, I would have lost an eye. The fact that
wow.
it hit where it hit was, perfect. So, aside from that, um, I went out. I could feel myself bleeding. Like, it was bleeding, and I was just like, man, huh. Um, well, let me go look in the bathroom mirror, and I'm bleeding, and I'm like, oh, that's a lot of blood. Huh. So I went back into the bedroom, and I was like, I don't have any towels. I went out into the I went down into the hallway of the trailer, and from the hallway you can see all the way down the trailer. So I could see my father talking to my sister, and I'm like, "Hey guys," and they're just like, "Listen, we're busy," and I'm like, "Hey guys, I got a bit of an issue," and they're like, busy with their conversation. So I'm like, "Huh, well, shit."
They
So I
looked up
walked back.
for a split second.
Right, right, and that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, they're not gonna pay attention to me. Well, might as well go wipe the blood off. So I went into my bedroom and I used my blanket, and I took my Spider-Man blanket, which was like the Tobey Maguire 2000 whatever Spider-Man blanket, and that's like my favorite blanket at the time. And I just plopped it right on there, right in like a space that wasn't Spider-Man, you know.
You
Like I put,
used a blanket?
yeah,
Oh
and I like took a blanket and I just put it there, and I was like, man, I really need to get because it was all over, you know, and it was a big blood spot just right there, and I was like, yep, that's blood. I was like, well, I can't get them to notice me if I don't cry, I guess. So I gotta get their attention. So I started fake crying, and I went out there. I had to I had to act it up, you know, like because they weren't paying attention to me. And I finally go, I'm screaming and crying and shit on purpose, and I'm like, I hit myself in the face, and then they realized what had happened, and they were just like, oh my god, and then they got me to the hospital for that one, which is funny because this happened after the eyeball incidents, so I was very wary of hospitals at that point.
yeah.
But
I'm surprised you didn't give us the same, like, then my dad pinched it closed and cleaned it up and pinched it closed some
well,
more.
yeah, well, you see, this one was real bad, really bad.
Yeah.
Like you could see the bone bad. It was bad.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so
Ugh.
um, I went to the hospital for that one, and they actually sedated me and then just
Wow.
stitched it up. They they were just like, it's a kid. You were gonna have to,
Mm-mm.
just a little. And obviously they didn't give me much because that could like kill you as a kid. But yeah, that's what they did. They got it all taken care of. And to this day, my father and my sister both do not remember that. They do not remember having like brushed me off, and they don't remember, me being nonchalant about it at first, and they don't remember any of that. But the proof that I have that this happened is that my mom still has the Spider-Man blanket, and it still has a blood spot.
Wow.
Uh,
Yep, still has the blood spot, and I kept it like that because I was like, fuck you guys.
it
No,
hasn't been washed?
no, it was washed. It's just the blood doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said you kept it like that. Like I assumed it was washed until you said I kept it like that. And I was
Yeah, no, no,
like,
no. Like
wait a minute.
it's well, no, you could have like gotten baking soda and all the other stuff and like cleaned out the spot eventually,
Uh,
which my grandfather offered to do one time. I was like, no, 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 no. That's what I mean by kept it,
well,
because
at
my
least
grandfather
there's
had a way with clothes. Yeah, go ahead.
no, it's okay. Your
He said at
grandfather?
least he had a way with
Well,
clothes. He could do that. So
oh,
yeah.
okay. At least there would be like a lot of red on a Spider-Man blanket, I would think. So like it could somewhat blend in.
That's where you would be wrong. This Spider-Man blanket was one of the like still image shots from the movie where Spider-Man was swinging in. So most of it was
Oh, so it's
gray
like
and blue.
printed on.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. So it's like a movie poster more than
Yeah, but as a
like
blanket, yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. And the gray and blue was all there mostly because buildings and stuff, and then it was just Spider-Man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I avoided Spider-Man, so that meant it went directly into the blue sky.
Right.
It was extremely visible. So
Well,
like,
it's an action shot, so it's like Spider-Man just like punched someone in the face because he's a superhero, and there's now a blood splatter where someone's face used to be. Like,
I concerning that that's where you go with it, but yeah, I guess.
I'm trying to justify seeing a random blood spot on a Spider-Man blanket.
I
I'm just
guess.
trying to help you.
I guess. I mean, sure, but like the thing being is that they don't remember it. However, my mother remembers not being able to get the blood out of the thing, and whenever I explained what happened, she was like, "That sounds right." Let's see, another good one. Um, mm, Okay. I have a scar on my wrist. A nice scar on my wrist where whenever we were younger, see, growing up in an abusive family makes you somewhat abusive as well. Because whenever you get hurt, as my father once explained it, you get hurt and eventually you are the one that wants to do the hurting, which makes a lot of sense because he was abused as a child and then he abused us. And then when we were children, we abused each other as well because we were kind of violent kids toward each other. We weren't really that way toward other people, but me and my brother toward each other, we would beat the shit out of each other.
Well, when you're raised
So,
to believe like that's the norm, when your father figure is doing that, so it totally
well,
makes sense. It comes from a place of like anger and normalcy, like you normalized it to justify it because that's you have to live with that.
right. Well, to a certain extent, like kicking someone's ass is like kind of ingrained in you at that point. But like
That's
there's
what I'm
also
trying to
like
say.
that I'm agreeing, that's what I'm saying. But like if um if we had disputes, my father would always try to be like, the middleman for that and step in and tell us the right things to do, which is funny from him, seeing as how he was always kicking the shit out of us. But like he was also the guy that would be like, you can't do that, you can't do this, that's your mother, that's your brother, that's this person, you can't do these things. Although he did abuse us, he was there as a father and did do a lot of good things. So like, you know,
Hmm.
I gotta respect that for the fact of what it was. But at the same time, at the time for us as kids, it felt so very hypocritical as a kid because like when you're a kid, you don't
Yeah.
fully understand that necessarily. Like that he's trying to do the things that he's doing the things that he is like choosing to do, but he's also trying to teach you not to be that person.
Hmm.
And sometimes that's hard for you to get as a kid. But for us, it was really one of those things where we were like, okay, we won't do that in front of everybody else. But when it came to us by ourselves, unless we got caught, it was just a thing that we did to each other. So, like, to give it to you one way, my brother and I would fight, and we would argue first, and then it would get physical. I was always taught to never throw the first punch. That's what I was always told. You don't throw the first punch, you don't start the fight, but if a fight begins, you end the fight. You make sure that they respect you. You beat the shit out of them, kind of deal. My father taught us that. My brother just kind of rejected it.
Apparently, yeah.
so, so there was a lot of instances where me and him would disagree about something, and he would just fucking hit me with shit. Okay, which is funny because I'm the bigger brother, and you would think that would be what I did, but no. I understood that there were certain good things that I had to take away, and certain bad things I had to filter out with my family. From a young age, I knew that there were things that were happening that I shouldn't do, and James, he went ahead one time, and we were arguing about something outside, and we were using this 2x4 that had a nail at the bottom of it to pick up trash. And he swung it, and I put my hand up, and it just cut open my wrist because it was going to hit me in the face. And you know how
Oof.
protective I am of my face at this point.
I'm sure. I'm surprised they didn't make you wear a football helmet from all that stuff. Just regularly wear a
I
football helmet.
So the thing was, with all the damage to my face, Dad used to tell me that I had a head made of granite because I would always get hit in the face. Okay, I got hit in the face with more things than I can count, like my dad's fists being one of them, but also bricks, all sorts of shit. Okay, but I was still protective of my face because I'm like, I can take a damage to my hand or something, but not the face. I leave my face alone. It's already damaged enough, you know.
Yeah, as a goalie in high school and growing up on soccer teams, I
Mhm.
thought that soccer balls were bad, but yeah, that's pretty brutal. But so you so you're like anything but that and then slit your wrist on accident.
Basically, and of course it's a nail, right? So it's long
Ugh.
ways. So it
Oh
goes
no.
across the vein. It goes across the vein.
Mm.
So thankfully it didn't go the other way and go like up and down the vein. That would have been bad.
Yeah.
So were you must have been taken to the hospital, right?
No, nope.
What? They weren't concerned about
No,
tetanus
they
at
were.
all? Okay.
No, they
What?
were.
What?
No, so
Like,
they were concerned. They were concerned. I had already had my tetanus shots. At that time, I think I was about 14 or 15. It was
isn't
just
there like a shelf life of that though?
Yeah, it's
Like,
about
yeah,
6 years.
I had just had my
okay,
tetanus
okay.
shot like 3 years before, and that works for a long
Okay,
time.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah, so they weren't really worried about tetanus because I had already been up to date. But like, you know, my wrist was still cut open, and I was just like, fuck it. And I went inside and I got we had gauze at that point because we're violent children.
Yeah, I'm
Which means
surprised.
we play very hard, even if we're not beating the shit out of each other, we play very hard. So whenever we go outside, if we're not disagreeing and we're having a good time, we'll probably get a splinter, or we'll probably get something cut open, or we'll probably slam our face into a brick because we thought it was funny, or we'll just like punch a tree over and over again to see if we can master the kung fu art of knocking the bark off and then, not having our knuckles bleed, which doesn't happen. So the the point is we had a bunch of stuff that we did that wasn't necessarily stupid, but it was silly enough that it got us hurt all the time. And they had a giant amount of like preparation for this because they had gauze pads, they had medical tape, they had stuff like that. So knowing that, I just went to the house, I got a gauze pad, I got medical tape, I wrapped up my wrist, and we were good. And that was fine. Still have the scar, but I would have had the scar anyway, and I would have had people be like, "We need to stitch you up," and I was, how against that I am. I don't need that. I'd rather do it myself at that point. Like,
One of my favorite videos is of these two kids that are brothers,
mhm.
and they basically they had this trash can, like a metal trash can that had the pedal that flipped the lid up,
Yeah,
and they at some point while they were playing outside realized that when that metal pan smacks their face, it makes that like dong, like that
yeah, yeah,
sound. So the best video on the internet, I swear, is that video where they literally take turns standing behind the trash can lid and smacking each
yeah.
other with
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
dong, and then they laugh and they
Yeah,
switch and then dong.
yeah, yeah. My brother and I
Hilarious.
did that one time with a science book. We So that sounds really dumb, but it was hilarious at the time. It only worked once, but I tell you, it happened. So my brother was being my brother, and I was being me, and we were just fucking around. We weren't like, hating each other or wanting to kick each other's ass, but, playfully, we would just hit each other randomly, playfully. Now, there's a time in which when playfully happens too much, then it becomes violent, but it was playfully all the way through this time, thankfully. I went ahead and I was just messing with him and I was talking to him about stuff and how, mom was and dad was. And I hit him in the head with a science book as a joke because he wasn't doing his homework. I said, "You need to get the knowledge." And I hit him in the forehead with it, right? Swear to God, I hit him in the forehead with that science book. And every pimple on his nose popped at the same time. Every single one.
What?
Yeah, every single pimple on his nose popped and they were just sticking out of his nose. And I'm like, "James, look in the mirror." And we had a mirror in the room. And he goes, "What? How did you do that? What?" And we got it cleaned up because it's just a bunch of zits just sitting all over his nose at this point, right?
Ew.
Yeah, so we got a paper towel or toilet paper or something. We cleaned it all up. And he was like, "My skin's really clear on my nose now." I said, "Do you want to do it again?"
What?
And I smacked him in the forehead again with it, and it didn't work this time. He's like, "Guess we gotta wait for him to fill up."
All right. And on that note,
Oh,
we're going to have to wrap it up because we're over time as we usually do.
yeah.
Mhm.
Just okay.
So if
Sorry,
you
I
ever want me
switched.
back on, I'll
Yeah,
totally
We're
do it.
so glad you can join us. Yeah, well, we got a couple more to do though, so.
yeah.
Yeah,
You'll be here for the next couple of episodes, so
that
we
sounds
got
Yeah.
more
amazing.
stuff to
I'll
do.
be here. How many hours is this? Because if it's at least two, we'll be here for 4 days at least.
All right.
All right.
With those fun stories and weird stories wrapped up, thank you so much for listening to them, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Anything else you guys want to lead us out with?
Don't hit your brother a bunch.
Like Judge Million says, your siblings are your best friends from cradle to grave. So yeah, don't abuse your siblings too much. Try to
Unless
keep it
they
fun, I
deserve
guess.
it.
Unless they deserve it, yes. As the oldest of four, we were violent, but yeah. And if I know I asked for this last time, but like you guys feel free to share your injury scar stories. Let us know in the comments below, and thanks for listening.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.